The date is November 21st, 1998. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time has released, and many kids probably had an enjoyable surprise under their Christmas trees 1 month after. You see, Ocarina of Time was a revolutionary display of what a game that came from a bird's eye view, then a side-scroller point of view can turn into with the advancement of technology. But not only that, but the passion of what made video games become that of a form of entertainment that would be taken more serious many years to come later on. One of the notable highlights you'll hear from people that have played this game, besides all the good it had, would most definitely be Z-targeting. It was a feature that would keep those playing have a focus on what was on the screen, as well as a means to recenter the camera. And considering this game used every button on it, well, almost every button as far as I know. Kirby 64 was the only N64 game that used the D-pad from my non-research knowledge and going off of my memory. But considering Ocarina of Time's utilization of items and the need for pausing to switch said items like any other Zelda game, it could get a bit tedious to manage, especially during Water Temple. But for the time, this game was a start to something new that most games in the fantasy, adventure, hack and slash, or something to that close comparison genre would ultimately make use of this feature later on into more games to come. Now, with everything I said about Ocarina of Time, you'd think this video is about OOT. Well, you'd be at least half right. But no, today I will be talking about this old but gold ROM hack that was released in 2018, made by Kaze, the man, the myth, the legend himself. And usually I'd call him Kaze, but after playing Ghost of Tsushima, I've learned how I was pronouncing his name wrong this whole entire time. So until further notice, I'll refer to him as the Man of the Wind, which feels appropriate enough with what he's been able to bring about in a swift breeze with polish to the SM64 community. SM64 Ocarina of Time is a mouthful of a title, that's for damn sure, but it also feels like a personification of how packed of an idea it was to mix in the world of OOT and to add the citizens of Super Mario 64 into said world, and Kaze comes in to make that vision into a reality. Some time ago, there was a video made by SwankyBox in 2015 with an explanation of what Mario and Link would look like if they swap places. It's a pretty good video I recommend you all should check out afterwards. He went in depth explaining the advantages and disadvantages both characters may or may not have and might come across, and for the time, this felt like it was only that of a dream anyone could wish for if they could actually switch places. But now, since it's 2022, years later, and with the advancement of how ROM hacks have thrived and decompilations and reverse engineerings and PC ports are a thing, I doubt there would be any struggle if there was a band of ROM hackers to take on the task and putting Link into a Mario 64 world with a full customizable story and making it more than just a simple matter of level porting. And since Kaze has already fulfilled half of SwankyBox's concept, I can patiently wait for the next madman to create OOT Link in Mario 64, but hopefully with a better title than that. The story to this 171-star ROM hack, yes, that is indeed a lot, but the story of this is the same premise of Ocarina of Time, obviously, minus the Navi intro and dream sequence. You start straight out of Link's treehouse, but if for some reason you don't know how OOT starts...
Oh, hi, wait a minute! Who are you?
Why haven't you played it? Matter of fact, why are you even here right now? Anyways, the toad standing out in the front explains what you should do if for some reason you get stuck. The start is pretty reminiscent to the original, straight to the point, and with the comparison of getting 40 rupees, or in this case 40 coins, to actually progress through the game. Moving further, you deal with the same 3 different areas of green, red, and blue, and their expected biomes. That being of Kokiri Village in the Lost Woods, Death Mountain with all the Gorons, and Zoro's Domain. But since everything is in Mario mode, there's a twist to how you go about certain things, and frankly, a good portion of that is definitely changed here. For example, in the original OOT, you had to present Ruto's letter to King Zora, and in this game, you had to present the mama penguin, her baby. And man, me explaining that was still faster than King Zora moving out of the way.
Really, nigga?
But since this is a ROM hack, a lot can't be a one-to-one remake, but it really didn't have to be. Which is why when most of the areas you go through have such familiarity, it's something hard to put into words when it comes to explaining the amounts of appreciation this game has. But as I said before, it's still Ocarina of Time, and even as you progress further into the adult timeline, the mood, the atmosphere changes, same as it did in the original, where in the past it's vibrant, full of life, hope. There are bunny rabbits flocking around. They're having a fun time. The Kokiri village has toads all around, just vibing, I guess. Castletown is thriving. Even though most of these people are your enemies, they really don't do anything to harm you, and they're just there just to help you out or help you get a star, or you help them and then they'll give you a star in return. A good deed never goes undone type of thing, you know? But then there's the future. It's dark and dreary. Though this time around, there are no redeads to come and remind you why you should never drop the soap. But like those same people that were around Castletown area, they attack you, like Chain Chomps attack you. The dude that helped you get a star no longer wants to help you and just wants to break your back. The Thwomps want to crush you. But when you go to the Kokiri village, there's nobody there. It's just ghosts. When you go to Kakariko village, there's just no one. It's empty. There's no bunnies. There's just nothing. But unlike the original, in this hack, instead of just 10 years or however long it was into the future, it's 80 years into the future. So all of those that Mario have come to know are gone forever. And for me, it felt like this ROM hack did a more immersive job in the sense of making the world feel change, in understanding that with the absence of a hero, everything is doomed. Everything just went to shit. But even after all of this, you still have Ponchi in the very end. No matter what, no matter how far you go. No, seriously, this guy won't stop following you. Like, you can go anywhere in Hyrule Field and he will follow you. I can promise you that. You can set your controller down and then just wait for this motherfucker. He will find you. He will. Well, now that I made the video a little bit depressing, let's brighten up the mood and talk about the great and many mechanics the game brings to the table. And boy, is there a lot of new and old but improved things this game has. First off, as a starter, you'll see these save boxes like in Paper Mario scattered across the land, which helps a lot. SM64 never had the current days of saving through the pause menu, so this being an alternative was pretty great. Don't know when ROM hacks this massive will find a way to have actual pause screen saving, but it is a neat touch, and utilizing what another game from the same game franchise as Mario had done before and putting it into this game is nice attention to detail. It really is. And good fan service. As you may have noticed as well from the game clips, you have this green meter here that, my dear viewer, this is magic. And it comes in handy for a lot you'll be doing. And with each star you obtain, the more magic you can hold. It's also great knowing it's the first thing you unlock. Unlike getting a sword and shield, definitely not a Pokemon reference, but the first area has enough coins to get the 40 amount needed to purchase the meter, and ultimately making it foolproof. And not only that, but also adding the fact that you definitely would be stuck in Kakariko village, same way that you would be stuck here unless you actually do what you need to do first and foremost. Unless you're like speedrunning, then you can just say, fuck this shit, I'm out. So as you gain more upgrades, you can view them in the pause menu, which seems like the only reason for pausing in this game, to make sure that you have everything unlocked that you can. I'll explain my experience on more later into the video, but where in OOT you get a slingshot, here you get the Vanish Cap. Yeah, that's a weird power to get as a replacement, but nonetheless, it lets you know the D-pad has usage here. Also, the game has a few fail-safes for in the case you run out of magic with the invisibility cap, and frankly, you can just, as soon as you phase through a wall that needed it, you can just instantly turn it off. There's no need to keep it on or just feel like you have to use it again when you can just go through what you couldn't go through, but I guess it's like a one-way streak. But in Ocarina of Time fashion, first boss you come across is going to be a Scuttlebug, because that's the best thing you could have for Goomba. I swear Nintendo just definitely doesn't reuse the same type of enemy, just reskinned at all whatsoever. So afterwards, as Toad instructed, heading to the castle to see Peach is one of the top priorities of the game. And unlike the original Ocarina of Time, sneaking by is going to be way more easier as long as you manage out the vanished magic. And unlike the original game, the moment you go inside the actual castle, you can just go to the left and just walk down the path so easily. Like, you do not have to try and dodge every bomb you see. I don't know, maybe if it was maybe like a glitch and I wasn't supposed to be able to get down there, but frankly, this game gives you no issues. And considering Mario is pretty acrobatic, he can just easily jump back up from the other side. And the only reason why you would maybe want to go the original path is to collect these silver stars, which are basically the 5 secrets of Super Mario 64. You will get the silver stars, and then they'll give you another yellow star to your counter. But ultimately, Peach's letter is what you need first and foremost to progress throughout the story. The castle town, you got your shops needed for tasks or permanent items to help progress. And as I said before, you can help out the people and they'll give you a star. The owl who won't spam you with the same line over and over, but gives you new abilities when you get a certain threshold of stars. Oh yeah, and before I forget, like there's also a Boo and Kakariko in replacement of the Skulltula, who kind of has that same premise as a feature, just a different amount of stars that you need to collect. And since it's along the way from Kakariko Village, going to Balwam Village, which is this versions of Death Mountain, and they make sure that you pronounce it correctly. And I don't know who's been calling them Balmams or however way you pronounce that, but man, there's got to be one hell of a Mandela effect for you all. But the Balmams give you access to all the cannons all across Hyrule, making use of the Thwomp's Fortress walls instead of that one and done corner break star in Thwomp's Fortress. And as expected, you will eventually come to unlock another power within the Dongo's Cavern or the Black Bob-omb's Cavern. I don't really know how that's going to be re-emphasized, especially when they still have a fully modeled Dodongo's head skull right there front and center. But other than that, the bomb diffuser is pretty neat, and it requires more strategy since you can only carry one bomb at a time, but at least the bombs you release can respawn in the same spot you set it off. So if it comes to a point that you think you messed up, you can always just run a few steps and then come right back. It really is as handy as it was in Ocarina of Time. It just requires a bit more item management, as well as remembering if you even had a bomb. I wish there was kind of like an indicator to let you know you had one, but it wasn't too much of a big issue for me. I'm going to the next place, as I mentioned before, in Zora's Domain, or as this game calls it, Penguin's Domain. I don't know how to mix those two words. I don't care. I'm not saying it. Yeah, give the baby up. Get clear passage to King Jabu Jabu, which I feel could have just had his mouth open instead of a pipe lodged into his nose. But maybe there was a limit on how many invisible warp zones an area could have, considering most of these areas are pretty big and pretty bigger than any of the biggest SM64 or Ocarina of Time areas. But inside Jabu Jabu, the item you get next is the Super Ground Pound, and not gonna lie, I can't really remember a lot of times that I used this. It was more of a, oh yeah, now I can do this in order to get this several stars, or I can, it's really not utilized here real well. I mean, yeah, you can break a few rocks, yeah, you can press some thwomps, but that's the most that you're really going to be doing. But another thing that was pretty cool in Jabu Jabu was the fact that instead of having Princess Ruto, we have a baby penguin in here. No one in the penguin's domain really cares about this baby. Like, this baby, you cannot save it. It's only here just to... It is only here for Mario to solve whatever is going on, and I'm fine with that. Like, it gave me enough times of annoyances to the point that I just wanted to chuck this baby off the cliff, to be honest. Just like in Super Mario 64. It was neat. It was cool in the concept, and it made a lot of sense. It hit home. But sometimes when you're just trying to get past this trail and then the motherfucker decides, yo, I'm gonna get off this switch, it just kind of messed with my patience just a tad bit. I won't go too in depth to all the abilities because you deserve that same mystery of what you get whenever you open a treasure chest kind of feeling, that same, oh, what's gonna be, what's that gonna be, oh my gosh type of feeling, you know what I mean. Oh, and before I forget, because there is no actual Ocarina of Time, your method of teleporting is by finding the multiple fairy fountains of Hyrule. But it will get confusing once you unlock Ganon's castle fountain, and trying to figure out if the game sent you to the adult or child timeline in certain areas can get a little confusing at times. Overall, the game does good by all the upgrades you get, and at times it can get a little overwhelming, but in a good way, feeling of, oh, I need to do this, oh, I can do that. Basically that same feeling you get when playing any Zelda game, to be honest. And after getting a new item, you just can't help but get that feeling of just wanting to smile when you realize that this is a Mario game. All of this, it's just a Mario game. Yeah, kind of makes you wish actual Mario games could get this kind of treatment, especially with the vast amount of powers Mario games have introduced. Just never use them again. But hey, Nintendo tried to stop this man for a reason, and I think we can all agree we're all glad they've continued to fail time and time again. But with the many upgrades and mechanics that this game does feature, it definitely makes it a joy, makes you feel like a kid again, to where you felt like you just played Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64, but clearly it being an actual relived combination of both, it definitely has that wowing feature. Phew, that was a lot for the mechanics, and I wasn't even close to a quarter to what the game comes with, so let's talk about the music. And from my recent playthrough of the game, most of the music seems to be a remade rendition of Ocarina of Time soundtrack, and since this game was released in 2018, I don't think people had the music porting perfected like how it is now. And I have to mention that in my last ROM hack video, I didn't know if any other ROM hacks changed music based off of where you were at. Well, yeah, this one does that here too, but it comes across as so subtle and natural to the point you barely notice. And probably another reason for that is because most parts of the game, some of the audio seem mismatched in the volume department in a few areas. Like certain Zelda tracks are made ominous, so it's usually somber and low, so maybe that could be a reason why you might come across the fact that some of the music just isn't playing anymore when you stay in a place like Jabu Jabu, the Deku Tree, and frankly a lot of the dungeons for the most part, and you come across with mostly just hearing Mario Yahoo his way through, making multiple grunts and stuff like that. But that need for improvement aside, the music that was loud and clear were ironically the more memorable tracks. Kokiri Village, Lost Woods, Hyrule Field, Lon Lon Ranch, Castle Town, Gerudo Town, and the stealth music. I can only say play this with headphones on. Maybe that'll help the immersion side a little bit, as well as give you a fuller feel of what music tracks are being handled this and that type of way. It's still gonna just be the same Ocarina of Time music, just in a Super Mario 64 kind of flair to it, you know. Not every instrument's gonna be 100% accurate, but it's still gonna be the same great music that Ocarina of Time had. So as is expected for all games, they require a visual aspect in order to make a game playable. I honestly don't know where to go from there, so we'll just talk about the graphical stuff in game. Frankly, there's not too much to talk about, considering yet again, I must remind everyone, this is Mario 64, but with a Zelda world. And like I said before, it'll feel pretty one-to-one. Though some places like dungeons might have some things not 100% accurate, but the addition of custom layouts and objects that were used in many other hacks before, they return here as a means to create a new puzzle solving method to obtain a star. You know what I forgot to mention though? The star stuff. The stars do matter in the game, especially the huge grand stars you'll get throughout after defeating bosses. The smaller stars, I can't necessarily say whether they are or aren't needed. Besides the optional included power-ups, the stars scattered around seem more like it's more completion and assistance with the previously mentioned magic meter increase, the owl and booze giving you more powers. I don't know. Speedrunners beat this game with less than 20 stars, so go wild with the possibilities, I guess, if you want to try that route. But as the graphics for this game goes, it's just as the music and everything else, it's still same Ocarina of Time. Only difference I can say is no fog. So I guess you can say at least the Nintendo Switch expansion pack at least had this ROM hack beat. And this is probably like the only one up that Nintendo has over Kaze and his ROM hacks. Just the fog. So I've talked a lot in this video, mostly positive, but a few small nitpicks you'll probably have during your quest being that of the infamous gay baby jail. Don't ask me why it's called that. It just is what it is, and it's queer to stay. But really, the big thing you'll probably hate is that same classic Zelda-style cluelessness. I know I can't be the only one that has played these games many times and in multiple ways and forms, and still to this day feel like an old person with Alzheimer's because you just don't know what the hell to do next. Even when it's just right there in front of your face and you've done it countless times. I don't know what was ever up with that. I've played many Zelda games, the same Zelda games, and that would always happen. And it's even worse when it comes to the 2D games. But this is where the game becomes a real bitch at times. And since everything is Mario, it becomes more of a pain in the ass when you're backtracked enough times to put Donkey Kong 64 complainers to shame. Hell, in my recent playthrough of the game, I got stuck in the forest temple because for some reason the game decided to not load in the boxes needed to kill the last ghost needed to get to the Phantom Boob fight. So I ended up going on a completely new journey to complete all the other temples in hopes that maybe, just maybe, I would unlock the means to make that clearly impossible wall jump easier for me, and as copium or something. Hell, you know you're overpowered when you're able to beat the water temple in less than 10 minutes, or something shorter than what would have been the usual or the longer usual. Either way, I beat the water temple in the shortest amount of time most people have tried to do with glitches and everything else. This giant journey, going to the sand temple, bumping these same annoying spike balls to the pokey, and because you can't just grab them, then toss them at the pokey's head, it became a hell that I wouldn't even wish on my own enemies. And it drove me to such malice that made me understand why Ganon and Bowser do what they do. It was the birth of my villain arc origin story. All temples completed, except for Forest. Nowhere left to go. But then, only after I go about this long, tedious, but still successful quest, hours and hours of grinding, getting lost, I hit the switch again. They're like, what does that open? It's not that gate. What? Oh, what the fuckheads? Oh, now this shit shows up. Like, Kaze. What the actual fuck, man? I still don't know how this finally decided to work. My best guess was if anything of this type of sort happens, just reset the emulator. Reset parallel launcher, which you should be using, and just reset the emulator, you know, close it all the way completely. Make sure you save first, then just come back later. Maybe it'll work. Maybe even change the plugins. I was using the recommended, but I don't know. Maybe somehow I did some stupid stuff. I don't know. I went on a whole entire journey just because these boxes wouldn't spawn up. That's wild. They weren't timed or nothing. They were just supposed to spawn up. I unlocked the means to hit the switch, but the switch wasn't working. Okay. Man, that was a real bitch. But my last nitpicks after that huge stress baggage, checkpoints. Or the lack thereof. You see, in Zelda games, because there are no lives, falling into a pit would lead into a death scream and teleport you back to the most recent room and only send you back to the entrance if you had no more hearts and it was game over. But because this was made when ROM hacks still had the traditional lives and before Peach's Furies teleport back a few seconds before falling into a pit was a thing, this game punishes you hard and you won't feel it until you get to the Shadow Temple. Like, this game kicks your ass, takes your lunch money, bangs your mom and your dad, and you can't do anything about it because you fell down that pit and have to start all over from the the beginning of a dungeon. Oh yeah, and same goes for the self-seconds, especially Gerudo for that area, considering they also have silver stars scattered around in the adult timeline where, you know, our original Ocarina of Time, Link's trying to avoid eye contact, but at least he had the means to like stun the Gerudos. In this game, all you have is a Vanish Cap. I mean, yeah, sure, you can do the whole Sonic spin thing that you unlock from the Boo's house, but like, dude, it's so annoying when you have 4 silver stars just to get caught just because of some bullshit, and then they send you not only back outside of the cliff area, but they send you on the other side. But at least that let me know that was an indicator of, oh, you got booted all the way back to the other side, so you have to cross the thing again, the threshold again, and then go to Gerudo. Oh, and then you would have to also recollect all the silver stars, which sucked, because stealth in a Mario game, yeah, that's I don't know, man. And this doesn't excuse the Castle Town either, because you could just jump over these fools' heads and guess what? They will still spot you if for some reason you're a frame off or something. I don't know. I don't know how I do not know how the detection works at all whatsoever. It sucked. I can just definitely say that. But yeah, nitpicks. Just nitpicks. But all in all, not to end on a bad note, SM64 Ocarina of Time, or as the original concept was supposed to be called, Super Zelda 64, was a master quest of a masterpiece of a game that was and still is a masterpiece, but using a completely different game that just so happens to also be a masterpiece, but this time without cake. I can easily say to play all of what this game offers and bear witness to what one great game can make even greater with a character that doesn't even belong to that game's world. And would you look at that, I've covered yet again another major ROM hack by Kaze. I'm just glad I could gush about this game years later and give a full critique in the mix, but regardless, to also let everyone know to play this game within a game. Parallel Launcher has you covered, and the rest is history. And in the future, I hope many others will get to play this historical game after Bowser takes over, just for a Fat Italian Plumber to save us all. I hope you all enjoy this probably longer video. It was for a friend that mentioned enjoying the Mario and Zelda stuff, even though the only Zelda stuff I've uploaded was edited Twitch streams of Master of Time ROM hack, which I'll probably make a video on that sometime later in the future. So yeah, it at least got me off my lazy ass to stream and make a video about what I streamed and play the game. I demand it, and you will not regret it. If you want more videos like these, check out my showcase playlist for more. And if you started school recently, study hard. It'll be worth it if you manage it out and choose the right path. And peace out until I make the next video. So do the YouTuber viewer thing, and I'm tired of recording my voice. Peace out.